know you were involved in an incident a couple Fridays ago to Dollar General, okay? What happened to the gun?
Threw it.
Threw it? Where'd you throw it at?
In the trash can.
It was a shocking crime in a small town where everyone was a familiar face, particularly standout student athletes. The evidence seems irrefutable. Multiple witnesses identify the same suspect, and he actually confesses to be the gunman.
What happened to the gun?
Threw it.
Threw it? Where'd you throw it at?
In the trash can.
Yet, he has not served one day in prison. How's this possible? Waukegan, Illinois. It's a place where everybody knows your name. Neighbors and friends, everyone is a familiar face. Like many quiet small towns, you'll find a tight-knit community that enjoys its historic landmarks, beaches. Basketball holds particular significance in Waukegan. The Bulldogs games draw attention from students, families, and the local community. That quiet comfort of small-town living was shattered on a cold day in February 2022, around 7:15 p.m. at the Dollar General on Grand Avenue. It becomes a day marked by violence and fear as a 19-year-old store clerk, Elvis Ramos, faces down the barrel of a gun. This incident began when the hard-working and unassuming young store clerk was forced to confront a suspected shoplifter. He asks the shoplifter to leave. Things escalate, and the man leaves the store, returning with a gun. As Ramos tries to shut the front door, the gunman fires. The bullet pierces Ramos in the skull near his right eye. Cloaked in the anonymity of a mask and ensuing confusion, the shoplifter disappears in the chaos and terror, igniting a manhunt that grips the city. Waukegan police spring into action, canvassing the area, gathering evidence, and desperately piecing together the fragments of what happened. The police department releases surveillance photos of the suspect immediately, and the community pitches in to help solve the crime, with multiple people pointing the finger at the same person. The Waukegan police zero in on their prime suspect, a towering, thin-framed, 6'3", 155-pound basketball player named Martell Williams, a 15-year-old freshman at Waukegan High School. With time being of the essence, officers burst through the doors of the school, navigating the hallways of teens in a fervent search for their suspect. The lean and lanky teen gave no resistance as the handcuffs were wrapped around his wrists. He was arrested and escorted away in front of his classmates and teachers, who were left in stunned silence about what had just unfolded in front of their eyes. Even more stunning is what happens next. Police announced that 15-year-old Martell Williams has confessed to the crime.
I know you were involved in an incident a couple Fridays ago to Dollar General, okay? I know a lot about that incident, okay? I've watched the video.
And yet Williams walks free today while Elvis Ramos continues the battle to save his right eye. How is this possible? As it turns out, on that cold day in February, Martell Williams was nowhere near the crime scene. Instead, he was approximately 20 miles away in Lincolnshire, doing exactly what he's most well known for. Martell was playing in a basketball game at Adlai E. Stevenson High School, and there's irrefutable proof. The Williams family provides a digitally time-stamped photo of Martell at the game in Lincolnshire. So why did Martell confess to a crime he definitely didn't commit?
You're pretty distinct looking, man. I've seen you before. I know who you are.
Martell Williams was detained by the police for 2 days following the dollar store shooting incident. During this period, he was in their custody undergoing intense interrogation, especially for a 15-year-old. Many reported that the footage shows detectives allegedly used deceptive tactics and manipulative strategies during Martell's 48 hours in custody. And coupled with the absence of legal representation during Martell's extended stay in this cold, unforgiving interrogation room, this created the perfect environment for a frightened and vulnerable teenager to confess to a crime he did not commit.
Go ahead and say what you wanted to say about the situation.
First, Detective Sean Ains, the lead investigator, worked to negate the teen's Miranda rights.
You have the right to remain silent, and it means you not to say anything.
The detective informed Martell of his Miranda rights, but then suggested that speaking freely would benefit him.
Just know that going forward, I think your words are going to be extremely valuable in this situation. I don't think you have anything to necessarily fear in terms of talking to us. But again, just know you can. Look, I don't feel comfortable talking about this. I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you or be whatever you want to do. That's not what I'm doing. Okay.
Sadly, many officers still use this tactic in order to encourage minors to waive their rights and also to make them feel that without speaking to a lawyer, they might receive a more favorable outcome. Martell, possibly feeling reassured by Ains' suggestion that honesty would remove his burden, waived his rights without fully understanding the implications.
You need something, you need water, you need to go to the bathroom, you need something or you don't understand something he's talking about, just ask me. Okay? I'm here on behalf of you, not him.
Realistically, lawyer coming here within the next 5-10 minutes, that's not going to happen. So if you want to have a lawyer, that's cool. But again, this conversation is going to end for right now. Okay. No, I have to ask you. Do you want to have a lawyer? No. You want to talk to me?
The second is suggesting leniency. Detective Ains introduces the idea that the shooting could have been in self-defense or accidental, and shared stories of others walking free under similar circumstances, leading Martell to believe that admitting to either of these scenarios could result in leniency.
Like I already explained to you, you reacting to maybe someone committing a crime or an offense against you versus you going out and being the aggressor and seriously harming somebody. Two totally different scenarios. People walk out of this building after shooting people because they explain the context of the situation. They explain it was a self-defense scenario, and look, I felt my life was in danger. We check everything out. We talk to people. We make a determination. That's exactly what it looked like. This guy had to shoot this other guy because he felt he had to. He felt like he was in fear of death or great bodily harm, and he had no choice. You know what I mean? And I've driven people home. I've shot people before. They never spent a day in jail. What? That all has to rest on that person being forthcoming with me, telling me the truth. You know what I'm saying?
Placing emphasis on Martell's fear and desire to go home suggests that admitting to the crime under specific contexts could lead to immediate release.
So, I know you didn't go into that store with the intention of shooting. I know that. But things happen, okay? Things can unfold quickly. Maybe this guy posed a threat to you. Like I said, I watched the video, he put hands on you. I saw that. He's significantly bigger than you. He could probably hurt you.
This tactic likely compounded the youngster's anxiety and confusion, steering him toward providing a false confession in the hopes of getting to go home.
I can only maybe think, what was going through your head at that time. I can't put the words in your mouth unless you tell me, unless you explain the situation. You know what I'm saying? It's all I have right now is some video to go off of, and that's it.
Ains told Martell that there was abundant evidence implicating him in the shooting, asserting confidently that he was involved, despite the fact that no such evidence had been uncovered.
Like I said initially, I'm not here to debate whether you were there or not. It's like, I know you were there. I can tell you, you wouldn't be here talking to me right now if I didn't have an abundance of information that, you were there and you were involved in this, okay? So that's not a question in my mind. So I'm not here to even discuss that part.
Officers sometimes use tactics to suggest guilt is already established beyond doubt, making resistance seem futile. Facing the perceived weight of incontrovertible evidence against him, Martell might have felt cornered into confessing despite his actual innocence.
I'm trying to give you little facts about the situation and maybe you can remember exactly what happened.
And lastly, there's feeding facts.
Do you remember what happened to the clothes you were wearing tonight? Are they just at home? Okay. You were wearing a hoodie? Okay. I know that.
Detective Ains provides specific details about the crime scene and the victim, presenting them as facts that Martell supposedly already knew.
There was a Hispanic dude like maybe 5'10", 6 foot, he's wearing a hoodie. He kind of put you, it looks to me like he put you out of the store. Not physically, but when you got to the door, he closed the doors, and there was some kind of like altercation at the doors, and it looked to me like he put hands on you at some point.
Ultimately, Martell ended up agreeing with or expanding on these provided details, thereby incriminating himself further with information he hadn't known or mentioned before. Under the pressure of the interrogation, many claim Martell might have felt compelled to align his narrative with these details, further entangling himself in a false confession.
I saw the video, I saw there was multiple people in there shopping. I saw you did not steal anything, you know what I'm saying? So that raised one question to me right away, like why is this guy targeting this little kid? You know what I mean? Is that what's going through your head at the time? I mean, explain like what you were thinking, or when this guy told you to get out.
I was thinking like, what I do, like, did I do something like, I don't know, like, am I being mistaken for another person or something?
Okay. You want to explain exactly what happened there?
Yeah, I walked in, like you said, people, I was walking in, just closed the door, and then, yeah, I was asking him, like, why I couldn't get in the store, and me, like, I got my temper, it's like, I get mad,
Yeah. And look, if someone told me to get out of their store for no reason, I'd be upset too, you know what I'm saying? What happened to the gun? Is it in your bedroom? Because there's going to be an officer going over to your house in a few minutes to talk to your mom. If it's there, we need to know. Okay. Where's it at? Threw it? Where'd you throw it?
Trash can.
Then where'd you go after that?
Straight home.
Did you make any stops in between? This is Grand Avenue. Where is this garbage?
So it's around this area. Like
So,
over here, like,
over here?
yeah.
So you're not sure exactly where it was located? It was like located in the alley, or was it, what is that, like a dumpster?
Yeah.
It was a dumpster.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Aggressive interrogation methods designed to break the will of a vulnerable teenager cast a long shadow on the integrity of the interrogation process. In a lawsuit filed by Martell Williams' family, they claim that detectives violated ethical guidelines and leveraged psychological pressure points, exploiting Martell's fear and lack of understanding. The response to these tactics, the teenager's eventual false confession, underscores the profound impact such interrogation methods can have on individuals, particularly minors, who may not have the capacity to navigate these manipulative strategies effectively. Further complicating the situation with the Waukegan Police Department is the stark discrepancy between the physical characteristics of the initial suspect, Martell Williams, and the description provided by the police when they released the photo of the suspect. The police described the suspect as a black male in his late teens or early 20s with a medium build, standing approximately 5'6" to 5'7". However, Martell is 6'3" and weighed 155 pounds, which significantly deviates from the description provided by the police. The description aligns much more closely with Caleb S. Brown, a 20-year-old from Lake Villa who was later apprehended and charged with 1 count of aggravated battery with a deadly weapon in this case. Fortunately, store clerk Elvis Ramos survived this violent encounter and has since been released from the hospital.
They didn't tell me nothing or say nothing to me. They just said you're under arrest.
Though Martell Williams' record has been expunged and both the mayor and police chief have issued apologies, Martell says this whole ordeal has left him with deep scars. His family has since sued the Waukegan Police Department, and that case is still pending. The 2 detectives are still employed by the Waukegan Police Department.
This is continuing an ongoing problem. The Department of Justice has been in here. Yet still, this is still going on where there's false confessions being had by young men.
The lack of disciplinary action against the officers has raised concerns about transparency and accountability. It was an incident that eroded his and the people's trust in the police. A heavy price for the small, friendly community of Waukegan. The fallout from Martell's story prompted a review of police policies in Waukegan, Illinois, especially with minors. A new state law now bans lying to minors during interrogations. A third-party firm, Jensen Hughes, has been tasked with investigating how officers handle interrogations, especially involving children. Despite the false confession and subsequent wrongful arrest, The two officers who interrogated Martell Williams remain on the force. And while Martell was coerced into making a confession for a crime he didn't commit, if we listen to the interrogation video from the very beginning...
You remember me? I spoke with you back...
When I got arrested the last time?
Listen again.
When I got arrested the last time?
Detective Ains and Martell Williams were familiar with each other.
What ended up happening with all of that?
Like, what was the outcome? Like, what they charged me with, what sentencing with? What they said.
Whatever happened in Martell's past shouldn't give police the legal or moral justification to have coerced his false confession for the shooting at the dollar store. But the world is a dirty place, and the fight against corruption is an eternal struggle. Those who forge a history of run-ins with the law also make themselves vulnerable to becoming ideal patsies when corruption surfaces in law enforcement and legal institutions. Stay out of trouble, kids.
But in the wake of all this danger, there is hope shining bright. You think of what could be and worse, and play with hearts like they're made of glass. The dreams that we have, the lessons we learn, the stories we earn. Not falling down again, and I don't wanna make the same mistakes all over again. Joy should be for real.